To our enter, to our ancestors, to our ancestors, we are thankful for you today and every day. And we are excited to come together in this sacred circle to spread wellness this wonderful morning. We ask the ancestors to assist us as we move through each minute today. Protect us, ancestors, and protect our families. Ashe. Welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. I'm your host, Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, and I'm trying to be quiet because my family is asleep at the moment. It's a little bit early still in the day. Friendly reminder, there is a free PDF for the Ancestor Prayer book on at ritualready.com, and I mean, the year is not over. The 2021 spiritual planner is still there as well. So keep wondering if I'm hearing my kids or the heater. Today we're going to go to page 67, chapter 4. Now you'll notice we did skip a little bit of chapter 3, and that's because so much of chapter 3 is testimony, which I think, you know, is really wonderful, but we've read that before, and I thought we would mix it up. Instead of reading that stuff, we'd be reading some other stuff. So at any rate, yes, if you want to read that, that's what you were missing. That's what you would get if you go and check out this book from your local library, the Sacred Woman book from your local library, or if you wanted to purchase the book yourself. Okay. So chapter 4 is called The Care of the Womb, and I thought this would be a good one to get into so that we're really looking at all those elements that we really need. We're looking at these elements that we need to give us something solid to use when we realize we're running into issues in our life, or running into issues with our womb, or running into, issues spiritually. It's like a lot of the time people are like, I don't know what to do, but this book really gives it to you. And so I'm going to give you some examples of how and why in this page. We're going to read 67 to 69. So she starts off by saying that she wanted to initially just work with families, but quickly realized that, oftentimes it's the woman who is the core, anchor of the family. And so she was often found herself working with the women, and then she often also realized that a lot of women were having womb issues, womb traumas. Sometimes it was physical, sometimes it was spiritual, sometimes it was some other challenges of medical, or like that were physical or spiritual, that were manifesting themselves in a more physical manner from things that just weren't healed, addressed, taken care of, etc. And then also just bad habits too. Lack of knowledge of the womb and the vagina have led to so many people being sick over the years in history, because they just weren't able to get the correct information, or there's so much stigma against women and our bodies, and people like with vaginas, as well as people who don't have vaginas who are women, also tend to get these same types of stigmas. There seems to be a real, in this patriarchal system, the feminine in general is really just demonized and misconstrued and alienated in so many ways, that the masculine just never has to be faced and never has to be questioned. And it's a really interesting dynamic, especially when you're trying to find ways to advocate for the womb, and advocate for women, and advocate for how things, should be in the future for the betterment of all. It's been interesting, especially as somebody who works with wombs, to really see how that dynamic has come to play over the years. So she said that Okay, so this is the part that I really loved. All my explorations into natural living and the healing arts have led me to one conclusion. The womb is the foundation of a woman's whole self. It is the defining sacred center of our bodies, minds, and spirits. Over the years, many women have come to me when they're facing a health crisis, such as having their womb removed. Rather than telling them not to get scheduled surgery, I would simply ask, how much time is the doctor giving you? Well, the doctor said in the next 2 months or maybe even the next month. So I would offer another possibility. Let's see how much work we can do now. Perhaps there are alternatives worth exploring rather than just accepting a hysterectomy as your only option. So that, I think, is kind of, in essence, how our attitude should be for everything, for all of the things that we're working on. Especially when it comes to hoodoo, it's really about that work. With conjure, it's that's what conjure is. It's about that work that you're putting into it. So finding those ways that we can do something now, I think, is one of the more empowering aspects of what Queen is talking about, and one of the reasons why I think it's so helpful for those of us who are trying to reconnect with conjure and make sure we know it, understand it, live it, and then we pass it on by virtue of others witnessing and, teaching the children. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that, I think, is one of those nuggets of wisdom, and one of the reasons why this book is such an invaluable source, especially for people out there who are like, I just wish I had a spell book. Well, we have one. We definitely have one. It's comedic, so it's not with the dressing that a lot of us would want. And until that happens, I think that this one is just so comprehensive, because it can just inspire you on those other levels. So I want you to really think to yourself as we go through all of this today about what is it that's happening that feels like it's weighing down on you. It feels like it's something you need to handle. And what is something that you can do right now, today? Like, maybe find, 3 things. What's something you can do today? What's something you can do this upcoming week? And what's something that you can do that will be a steady thing that you're doing throughout the days to try to facilitate, or perhaps something that can be done or planned for later in advance that may take a bit more planning. So, there are things that we can do. There's that spiritual work. There's, we can be doing candles. We can be doing spiritual washes. We could be cleaning the house. There's that sacred movement we could be doing. There is the waters. We could be blessing water and drinking it. We could be stirring the pot full of love and singing over the pots to make even the food we're eating at our meals a part of our daily prayers. We could be doing our daily prayers, right? But then we could also be doing, those physical things that could be helping us, making phone calls, doing the sacred movement itself. There's just so many things that we could be doing that make it so that we are jump starting our goals in a more proactive way. All right, so she goes on to note, what grew out of my work is the concept that there is a nonviolent approach to womb wellness. It comes through being conscious of the womb's own wisdom and utilizing natural therapies that honor our whole being, including juice therapies, live foods, nature's herbs, water therapy, movement and breath, essential oils, clay infusions and applications, and more, right? So there's so many different tools that we can have at our disposal, and some of them are things that we're going to slowly build into our, home apothecary, so to speak, our home medicine cabinet. So like I said at the beginning, though, you shouldn't be feeling pressured, like, oh, well, I need to find myself some essential oils. I need to find myself some clay. You need to just have yourself be open to those things, because they will start to come into your life, or you'll start to, acquire some of them one at a time. And as you start to acquire things, people will see you with things and they'll hand off things to you, or you'll put it out there and it will happen for you. So you shouldn't be out here unless you have it like that and you're like, no, let me go find a Black owned apothecary and then fill up my shelf at home. which would be awesome, right? Wouldn't that be the life? But you know, if you don't have it like that, you know, working small, focusing on those things you need, um, and then you'll find those times where those things end up in your life, or you're able to supplement, or you're at the Dollar Tree, you're able to get a bunch of candles, that type of thing. But take it slow, you know, take it slow. Eat to live. There is a toxic lifestyle that feeds the tumors in the womb, breast, and other parts of the body. Um, Flesh-free, limited starch diet. We prevent growths and diseases found in the womb, the breast, and throughout the body temple. And on the other hand, mangoes, papayas, coconut water, ginger, sorrel, honeydew, celery, parsnip, cucumbers, many kinds of greens make our womb supreme. So she here definitely is talking about healthy eating, putting the right foods as fuel into our body. And this, I think, is it's not just something that you have to think on the womb level, because you're also going to be, when you release a lot of the sugars and the starches and such from your diet, you help yourself have more energy, right? So that you're able to do a lot of these things. Because I find when I fall off of my womb journey in a lot of ways, and one of the first things I do is typically go back to drinking. And the thing that does to me is it makes me so tired for other parts of the week, so that there's only about 5 hours a day where I'm being actually productive, which really harms, right? If you have all these goals like I do, right? I'm out here trying to quilt. I'm here trying to do the sister circle. I'm trying to raise my 2 twins. I'm trying to be a better artist in other ways, like painting, or learning to embroider, or writing books, or making the yearly planner. There's so many things. Be a wife, clean the house. There's so many things that I want to do. And if I spend most of that taking care of the family and stuff, I don't have time for all of these other things. And like a lot of that is the sugar content that, and the wheat, the starch, I guess, that some of these things are based into. There's a whole plethora of issues that come from it. And so but that's not the only way, right? Because they put sugar in like everything. And when you start to get lazy about looking at what you're eating, or if you're not the one making it yourself, right? If you're getting the processed pre-made foods, which sometimes it's not your fault, right? Sometimes you literally are getting the bag of free groceries from the pantry, which is like a real thing. And you don't pick and choose what comes in there. You eat what's in there. And so you have to be really careful about what's in there, and planning your meals a little more accordingly, to make sure that you know what you're eating, you know how you're consuming it, and that you are making the best choices possible, as in not filling yourself up with other sugars, knowing that these foods do come with a decent amount of sugar in them already. So, you know, these are just the choices that we have to make, because sugar, I keep mentioning it, it's because it's like the #1 addictive thing we have here in America that people are addicted to. But it's one of the more socially acceptable addictions. As long as you don't reach a certain size, then suddenly everybody's angry. But you know, people will sit and watch people down 4 or 5 sodas. I remember when I was a little girl, my adoptive mom is of the boomer age, a baby boomer, and she definitely drank a lot of Diet Coke. A lot of Diet Coke. And she eventually stopped because it was like obviously detrimental to her health. Like it was really not making her feel good. So she switched it to tea, some of that Lipton black tea. But I will never forget how many bottles of that stuff, little bottles, big bottles, all the cans and stuff. Like she drank a lot of that stuff. Actually, I think she mostly preferred like this one size of like in between bottle. But at any rate, it was a lot of bottles of the stuff. It was a lot of bottles. And I remember especially because we weren't allowed to drink soda as a little kid. Like I didn't drink soda until I was like out of the house grown, because I just didn't like it. I didn't like how it fizzed and stuff, because I didn't try it till I was a lot older, you know, so I just wasn't a fan. Now you can't get me away from a squirt, okay? I love me some squirt. So at any rate, but making these choices of eliminating certain things from the diet, cutting certain things, making sure it's a balanced meal out of all these things, I think is you know, one of those ways that you're not only going to be helping like from the inside, or oh, the years from now this will help me because I'm going to be the one looking good. It's hard to make decisions often for that long term. Yeah, you know, we all want to live old, you know, to be old, but you know, at the same time, it's so abstract thinking about the next 30 years even, or the next 10 years even. Sometimes thinking about today, the way this is going to help me within the month, if I stop drinking, if I cut back on the donuts or cookies, or however it is I'm getting my daily grams of sugar. Somehow, some way they're getting it into us. Somehow, like cutting back on how many starches you're eating, or even, you know, doing things like intermittent fasting and stuff, so that you're only eating through at certain times of the day, or stopping by certain times at night. That also can help with drinking, I've learned, is if you're like, oh no, I'm stopping at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Well, like, you don't usually drink like prior to that. I mean, unless, you know, you're having a good day, okay? But I'm saying, like, usually people tend to drink later in the evening, so it can really cut you off if you had to get all your drinking in by 7 o'clock, right? She says, what this means is that we have control of the destiny of our wellness. When we, as women, practice the principles of eat to live rather than live to eat, then we will eat ourselves into good health. Okay, so really, I think that making that distinction about working towards having that good health versus just, you know, using it as a way to medicate bad feelings or to just get through the day, really taking that time to cherish and understand our meals, I think is the other part of what she's saying, because your meal is, you know, some of that craft work, right? It's some of that magic that you can put into yourself and be feeding yourself. It's a whole thing that you're putting together every day that could easily be worked into what you do for yourself and your magic for yourself and for your family, of course. So food isn't just for putting menstrual blood and getting a man, as people seem to always want to talk about. But that's the part that makes me so sad, is it just reminds me of, like, that's like all hoodoo gets degraded down to in popular culture, is like putting menstrual blood in spaghetti sauce, and all that voodoo gets put out for is a little doll with a bunch of needles sticking in it for revenge, or you know what I mean? But these things are typically, the papa is typically used for healing, and food is typically used for healing and love and caring for your family. Like, you know, my pot is named Tacoma. Like, you know, it's so different. In our regular life, we're using it for healing the family, healing the self, healing the community, and it just gets degraded into this whole thing. Meanwhile, Christians get the hugest kill count of everybody, but they get to be led by the Prince of Peace, and you hear that someone's a Christian and you're like, oh, they're a good person. I don't get it, y'all. I'm bitter. So, the methods of natural eating presented in this chapter support your womb as you recover from the poisonous, non-live foods that contribute to disease. Study these principles and techniques of natural living and become transformed. Also, building just the habits of things will also help you get your energy back. So let's say you're cutting out those sugars. While you're trying to regain the energy, still try to do what you can. Don't just be like, oh, I guess I'm recovering from my sugar coma. Like, still try to see when you can get up at 6 a.m., 4 a.m. and do some yoga and do some meditation or something like that. See what those things are that you can start adding, so that you are figuring out and pushing yourself and building up that the body habit of getting up and being active and doing those things. But also take time to take a nap. You know, if you have reached 2 p.m. and you are crashing, because usually you go and have a very sugary drink right about now, or something like of that nature. You have some kind of like snack, and the snack that you're having just, it didn't cut it for you. You had the snack, you had the carrot sticks or whatever. I don't know. You know how you get when you're like first going back and it's not as good of foods yet, and you're just looking through all of the plant-based recipes, trying to figure out how to restock your kitchen. But at any rate, you know, just don't be ashamed to take a nap and recharge and try again in an hour. Wherever you start off with your womb concerns, whether it's PMS, fibroids, heavy menstrual bleeding, infertility, menopause, whether it's 21 to 28 days of, within 21 to 28 days of applying your natural living approach, you will begin to see changes. This is very true. I find even if you only partially apply it, even if you only do like go halfway with everything she suggests, you're going to see a change in a month. You're going to see a change within about a month, within about 3 weeks. You're going to start to feel those changes and start to feel more rejuvenated. So I say, you know, even if it's like everything, it's like cold turkey, like, you know, it's too much. Don't go cold turkey then. Go like half turkey. See how many days you can skip. You know, it all starts to add up, absolutely. And the timeline of 28 days is just saying if you commit to some type of change in those 28 days, you will absolutely see some levels of difference with like your energy, with how your body is reacting, with how you know, you're able to experience your period and what goes on with that. And you will start to see some semblance of change. It may not be drastic, it may not be all of the things, but some things will change as you make those little changes. So those little steps are absolutely important, and it's important to not be caught up with only with what she's talking about here. So she says you will see how your life will change from one period to the next when you become conscious of your womb and her wisdom. And listening to your body, right? Listening to what your body has to say. Your attitudes will change, how you look at men, how you look at your children, how you look at your work, how you look at your life. That's very true too. Once you start being sacred and trying to apply yourself to one thing, you start trying to find other ways to try to do it in other ways as well, right? To the other elements of your life, because you're like, oh, if my juju works here, imagine what it could do here in a positive way too. And it can kind of have that domino effect, right? So let's see, she says, and you will begin to truly comprehend just how much is held inside your womb and how her state affects everything in your life, right? There's a real bloodline wisdom that comes with that. And it's not always going to be perfect. It's not a perfect journey, but it is something that, you know, you will trial and error, but you will begin to learn, and sometimes you'll just know, right? And as you get better at it, that knowing will become more and more instinctual as you move through life and do your thing, right? The goal is to kind of reach that state after 25 years, however many years, 30 years she's been doing this, that where you can mostly always be in your center about these different things that you're going through in your life, or even that others around you are going through in their lives. So this next part is always really interesting to me. She has this part about having an ancient mirror, or having a sacred mirror, and she talks here about the ancient mirror. The mirror was first developed thousands of years ago in Kemet by polishing a metal surface to a high reflective shine. Mirrors were important, for they symbolized fertility, beauty, and protection. In ancient times, we didn't just use the mirror to see how we looked. When we gazed into the mirror, we knew that it was not only a reflection of the physical body and beauty, it also reflected our spiritual condition and offered us an opportunity to view our very soul looking back at us. This power is embodied in the Egyptian word for mirror, Ankh, which is also the ancient Egyptian word for life. The mirror reflects and symbolizes childbirth, fertility, and protection. The Kemite people also used mirrors to banish negative forces and to draw in positive, right energy, as the ancient Chinese practice of feng shui still does today. Everything the ancients did was spiritually inspired. Even the faces of mirrors were shaped round like the sun to reflect its penetrating power and vitality. Queen suggests here that you either, go to a museum, an art museum shop, and get yourself a Hoodoo mirror, or you can get some other type of African decorated mirror. Probably West African is where most of us in um, the United States are from, but it would just depend on you and your, ancestry, what kind of mirror you would want to get. And or maybe there's one in the home. Maybe there's one that your parents use, cousins, somebody has had that you can kind of have as your own, reclaim as your own. Or decorating your own mirror, buying a plain one, and then finding a way to paint it, hot glue maybe some crystals on the back of it or something like that. And this one will be, for spiritual use, for spiritual charging. Now, Queen does say that you can have a mirror on your altar, but I do know that other spiritualities don't have that, and some people are really sensitive to mirrors, so they refuse to have them on their altars. So this is really up to you, and up to what you're willing to, have, what intuitively you think is appropriate for your altar, for where you want to keep something like this. So this could be a really small pocket mirror too. It could be a really small one that you have. So she has a meditation here where you use the mirror to look down at your vagina, look down at your punani, and just connect and just create some kind of relationship. Look at it, see what it's about, become intimate with what you look like in specific, and also what your needs might be. So I'm going to read over really what her meditation is here, just to give you an idea. And this is page 69. This is one of the last page that we're going to be reading today. So take your spiritually charged Hoodoo mirror with you to a quiet, private space in your sacred sanctuary. So this is after it's decorated, dried, everything, cowrie shells, beautiful colors, silver, gold, lavender, sparkles, anything you want, right? You find a private space, you're going to have a little bit of time. It's not going to be too loud, or maybe you can get some headphones and make sure you can't hear anybody else, so that you can just relax and be locked in this room by yourself. Preferably this would be somewhere where you can have some sunshine flowing through the window. Some of you may remember having the sun tanning moments with outside in the outdoors before. I think we did that like a year and a half ago. Maybe it was in 2019. I'm not sure. But you usually can find like a patch of sunlight and get a little bit of that tanning energy on the parts of your body that don't usually ever get touched by sunlight. Put on some soft music, strings, flute, piano. I often really enjoy steel drum, pan drum type of music. It's just really soothing and still jubilant, but very calming at the same time, and not any kind of specific melodies or singing or anything like that. It's just a very calm, meditative sound. Sit quietly on the floor. Breathe deeply as you meditate on Mother Newt for inner peace. So for that, you would probably be praying to your ancestors, to maybe Mother Nature. If you're in the sunlight, just connecting with your inner self and your inner body, and your womb especially, so that you can find that peace and calm and center yourself. Now pull your dress up to the waist, or take off your slacks and remove your underpants. Slowly spread your legs wide and place your sacred mirror between your thighs, looking inward. Take a long, deep, meditative look at the entrance of your womb. When you're ready, breathe deeply and gently separate the lips of your gateway to see further into your sacred garden. Meditate quietly on what you see. Stay with her for a few minutes and give yourself a chance to become acquainted. No rushing, okay? When you're done, bless your sacred gateway and thank her for sharing herself with you. Remain in your inner meditative space, sit quietly, and write in your womb journal. Record what you feel about this sacred part of your womanness. Now, these questions are for you to, be reflecting after you spend that 4 or 5 minutes. Did you want to hurry up and just get it over with? Were you able to just take your time? How did she look? Pretty, healthy, smooth, inviting, weak, dry, moist? Was she foaming at the mouth? Did she have a drip? Did she smell clean, sweet, and natural? Or did she smell fishy, yeasty, or fleshy? Has this sacred womb journey made you feel dirty or beautiful, embarrassed or ashamed? Is your attitude positive or negative about looking at the face of your womb? During this exercise, know that a great deal of healing is taking place on the inner subtle planes. You might be scared or shocked or at ease. Many emotions are going to rise from you, all carrying stored up information about yourself. Just let them flow. Fear not, for the Most High is with you all the way through your womb healing. As you tune into your inner womb spirit, open a dialogue. Talk out loud or in silence. Listen intensely. Your womb is speaking to you through your womb mirror about what she needs in order to heal. And it also really helps you just overcome stigmas. It helps you overcome the disconnect sometimes we have with our own bodies, and really brings up memories. And there are ways that you can find to really heal just through that simple gaze, and perhaps doing this more than once, weekly, monthly, could really help, because you're able to see how much more comfortable you get seeing yourself as time goes on. So she says this final part is labeled My Womb Mirror Adventure. I was reluctant to explore my inner self with the womb mirror for the first time. I kept telling myself I was too busy with other things. Then I finally said, it's time. So I went to my bedroom, sat quietly, and opened up my legs. I took the mirror and I looked at my womb entrance. My first thought was, I've been here before. Then I said, this looks strange. Oh, you need to be groomed. Oh, okay, you need brushing. I got some olive oil and a little lotus oil, and I just oiled her down. I said, oh, Mother Newt, I have been careless. When I opened the lips, I thought, they're very pink. You two look so beautiful. Let me try to think beautiful thoughts about what I am seeing. So I thought this part was very telling and a good teachable moment, right? Because firstly, the first thing she did was she actually got up, got the oil, and did the work, right? She thought the thing that needed to be done, and then she went and did it real quick and then came back to finish the rest. And I think that's really important for us, because, not just thinking it isn't right. And this isn't just like a staring contest, you know what I mean? It's also about, finding those things. And sometimes it may just be the thoughts that heal and give you something to work with. But sometimes it may be something that you should physically get up and go do it, because you could do that right now and see and anoint and, find those ways to bless your space as you are doing this practice. So it's going to be different for everybody what they might see or think or feel at the same time. And some people may not even be comfortable doing these things, but it may be good to have the thought so you could do it later. I also saw who came out, who was left out as I did this profound meditation. All the different feelings, the babies that came through, the pain I had experienced from periods to infections to giving birth. You too will see different things in your womb. Some will be physical, some will be spiritual. The womb mirror self-reflection exercise will be your moment of truth. Your moment to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you unconditionally. I love you even in my ignorance. I loved you when I didn't even know. I just love you. Send that love to your womb, even if you don't believe it in the beginning. Remember, your womb mirror reflections are also a reflection of your life. Upon completing this part of your sacred womb journey, smoke cleanse your womb area carefully with some smoke in the ancient Kemetic way by standing over a small iron pot with a small burning charcoal round from a botanica or smoke shop, the little charcoals you use in a hookah as well. And you sprinkle on top of those the leaves of, it could be sage, cinnamon stick, you know, there's so many other different things that you could use technically for smoke cleansing. It doesn't necessarily have to be sage, or it could be, I guess, certain types of incense as well, or certain flower petals, herbs, different things that you have, which you have used. And if you don't have any charcoals, you know, there are other ways. I'm sure you'll find a way to still be able to smoke cleanse your body using a stick if that's what you have at this time. But traditionally, you know, we didn't have all those bundles. We would have like a little cauldron or bowl, put the charcoal, and then sprinkle on top of those. I remember that was my favorite type of incense, especially in my early 20s. I would love to go into the different Arabic smoke shops around here and just go crazy and find whatever they had, what the different ouds they had to burn. Or you can anoint the outer surface of your womb with lotus oil as you affirm and pray for womb healing. If you have olive oil, just rub it between your hands, bless it, and use that. Be careful not to get the oil on the sensitive inner lining. If you're using coconut or olive oil, you wouldn't have to worry about that as much. But with like an anointing essential oil type of thing, it would be best to not go within. Perform this womb ritual daily for 3 to 7 days, or until you feel totally at ease with your womb and until your womb has said all she needs to say. From time to time, you will receive inner guidance, repeating this exercise to gain greater womb insight. Wisdom and insight. All right, so that's what we'll do this week. We can find a mirror, or find a place in the home with a mirror. If you like, if you really can't be out here buying a whole ass mirror, just find a way to use a mirror perhaps somewhere in your home. Or I mean, if you have a phone that you would trust to use the camera function on it, like, you don't have to save the video, or you don't even have to really press record. Really, you could just have it be open so you could see. Maybe that would be an alternative if you can't get a mirror this week to try it. But ultimately, getting a small handheld mirror next time you're at the dollar store, next time you're, you know, somewhere, I think would be, you know, really helpful, and it could be added to your tools, your sacred tools you use with your altar. All right, I will check in with you all with that next time. And I think we're going to, before we get into like all the reproductive organs and disorders and menopause and all of that, I think we'll probably read a little from one of our other books that we've been doing or using. And with that, and I will see you next time. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads.